Mnemonics are memory tricks, and the first one is an acronym where it's one word created from the first letter of each word to remember. Associations are where you associate new information with information you already know. And acrostics are phrases or sentences where the first letter of every word corresponds to a word beginning with the letter of the words you want to remember. So for example, PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S, is a familiar acronym for many people from math class, and it indicates the order of operations. So PEMDAS would be an acronym because that's one word. In math, we often associate new information with what we already know because math builds upon itself. And then, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is an acrostic, which means the same thing as PEMDAS. So you see the difference between an acronym and acrostic. PEMDAS versus please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. When we are preparing for tests and taking tests, we need to be aware of test anxiety, which is something many students experience. Test anxiety is very common, and what is happening is an actual physiological response in our body to the stress of taking a test. The key is to know that it is a response that can be observed and handled. When you are taking a test, something to think about is a Start Smart testing plan. First, make sure you do put your name on the test if you're taking a paper and pencil test. Sometimes we're very nervous and we forget that part. The next key is to read the directions. You'd hate to answer a question incorrectly simply because you didn't read the directions. You also need to look over the whole test to preview the test so that you can budget your time. Know how many questions there are and what time you have so that you can use all of the time provided. Then you would start with the easy questions. You don't have to start at number 1 and keep going. You start with easy questions so you can get those out of the way, and then focus on the questions that will be a little more difficult or take more time. And finally, do be aware of any test anxiety symptoms that might be happening so that you can manage those symptoms during the test and allow your cognition to keep going. Chapter 8 also includes many suggestions for answering different types of questions. We did not go over these in depth in class because there are so many, but I would ask you to look through these pages in the slideshow or in the book to see the suggestions and tips for the different types of test questions, including multiple choice, matching, fill in the blank, and true-false questions, plus essay questions. We have different approaches with all of those different types of questions, and there are some suggestions and tips for each of those types listed in the chapter. Finally, after taking a test, you need to use metacognition to examine your cognition and your learning. Evaluate your approach to your studying. Was your studying effective? Did you spend enough time? And this is how you can determine your next steps for how you would study for the next test. You also need to find out how you actually did on the test and discuss your performance and strategies with your professors. Finally, learn from your mistakes. Realize how or why you made mistakes, and remind yourself that one poor test does not reflect on your overall abilities. Figure out what led to your results so you can do better next time. Remember, way back from chapter 1 with self-efficacy, resilience, and hope, If you learn from your test taking mistakes, you will increase those 3 qualities as well.